On to our devotion. So here it is. You can do a little work at your table. Yeah, just the title kind of catches you. There's Greg right down there. Hi, Greg. Good to have you here. Roger. Great. Another road with a dead end. Oversensitivity. So that's the title. It's from E. Stanley Jones. We have considered the person who criticizes. Now we must think of the person criticized. His reaction to criticism is important. It may make or break him. So here's a good question for us as believers. First, we should start with a positive, and that is to say that you are born again, you have the Spirit of God in you, and you have love. When you have love, you're not overly sensitive because you can endure things, bear them, believe them. You're not how, actually, let's think of it a certain way. There are some diseases where your skin is overly sensitive. I don't really know the names of those. Maybe you do. But your skin is very sensitive. Sometimes I feel I might be a little oversensitive to the sun. Like if I sit in the sun for a while, I mean, even 10 minutes, I start to feel that radiation on my skin, and I really turn color pretty quickly. 20 minutes, and I actually like it. I think we all do. Aren't we all waiting for it? Give me a little sunshine, right? But there are people that do have conditions where they can be overly sensitive with their skin, or maybe you have allergies, you are oversensitive to some particular, food or chemical. But then psychologically, we could be overly sensitive to what happens around us or people's criticism, or even they're not critical, but somehow something affects me and bothers me, and I'm overly sensitive. All right, so we want to not talk about those exceptional cases where people are, but just on the normal living, the normal way of life. We have to be aware that oversensitivity can be a dead end. It can lead me, like we say sometimes, down a rabbit's hole. What is the thing about a rabbit hole? Anybody know? What's a rabbit hole? One way in, is there? Is there one way in, one way out? Okay. What else could we say about it? Okay. I think rabbit hole. Yeah, that's a good. Anybody in the back there? You guys and the smart people over there in the back, could you help us out? Pastor Steve, do you know? We don't know. Pastor Philippe. I don't know. I got to look at. We go down a rabbit hole. It kind of is a dead end. Like you get into a thing and you can't go anywhere. It ends. That's how I understand it. So anyway, oversensitivity is a dead end. Oversensitivity is a road with a dead end. It is not the way. And yet, the thing that is at the base of man's progress is sensitivity. In the onward march of life, the oyster did an apparently wise thing. He put his skeleton on the outside. His shell is his skeleton, and his nervous system on the inside. He would protect himself from all suffering. He fastened himself upon a rock and stayed there. Life swept on past him. He never developed. On the other hand, we men did a dangerous thing. We put our skeleton on the inside and our nervous system on the outside. That means that we are capable of great sensitivity, hence great suffering, but also great development. Someone has defined life as sensitivity. The lowest life is sensitive only to itself. The higher in the scale of life you come, the wider range and deeper depths of sensitivity you find. The highest range of life was where Jesus said, I was hungered. Every man's hunger was his hunger. He was infinitely sensitized, therefore had infinite life. For life is sensitiveness. Therefore it is the secret of our rise. It can also be the secret of our downfall. If we are sensitive, we rise. If we are oversensitive, we fall. Perhaps to say oversensitive is wrong, for you cannot be oversensitive. You can be wrongly sensitive, sensitive toward yourself. Sensitiveness directed outwardly toward others is a secret of developing life. Sensitiveness directed toward yourself is the cause of disrupted life. Someone gave a prominent man a jack-in-the-box for Christmas. When he opened the present, the toy jumped into his face. It offended his dignity. He became resentful, lost what religion he had. In some places, the Kuwanians give the new member an 11th commandment: don't take yourself too seriously. So that's his devotional for week 19th in his book. And I would just like to take from there and get a Bible message for a few minutes from that text. So you give me a few minutes and I'll come up with one and you can talk at your table. I think maybe something about it spoke to you. So go ahead. Okay, let's go to a couple of texts here. The first one is Romans 12. I liked what he said about oyster having a skeleton on the outside that protects it, and then people having our we've heard the phrase "wear my emotions on my sleeve," and maybe I could be overly sensitive and easily offended. But then in Romans 12, we have mind renewal, and we have the spiritual life described here in this chapter. And we have verse 2, be not conformed to this world. And one of the messages in the world is to be that we are a victim of mistreatment or injustice. But when we are spiritual, then the mind is transformed, and we prove what is the good and acceptable and perfect will of God, and we actually make progress in life because God is with us. In verse 14 to the end of the chapter is good advice for us who could be easily offended. Maybe you could put a little list there. Oversensitivity, easily offended by what people say, why they say it, what they said, words that are used. And if you could see through it and not be a victim of it, but kind of see through. When people are abusive or they are offensive, kind of see through it. They have a personal problem, and you can love them by understanding them. Like, instead of being offended by them, just understand them and see maybe what their need is. They speak out of anger, hatred, frustration, those things. And I happen to be there. I happen to be the target, but I can handle it because of 1 Corinthians 13, love. And here it says in verse 14, bless them which persecute you. And that in another way you could say, if you understood that they're afraid of you, or that if you understood that they treat a lot of people that way, or that they are just a bad person. They're just a bad person and they're persecuting you, then they are going to suffer for their badness, and that they actually need prayer. They need, maybe we could say they need love, and that I'm not taking it in a personal way. Verse 15, rejoice with them that rejoice, and weep with them that weep. So there is sensitivity, that is identification, that I realize that everybody is rejoicing. I rejoice with them. I realize people are weeping. I can weep with them. So that's a good word. I wonder what that means in a practical way. I always think of it as body life. In body life, when the body is rejoicing, I step into that spirit. I rejoice with them. When everybody is weeping, I am stepping into that spirit, that we are weeping together because we have the mind of Christ. So that's that's how I see it, And I think maybe if yeah, I think I said it well enough. I think that's clear. I mean, I think so. Right? Is that how you guys understand it? Verse 15. Maybe I don't know. Maybe somebody has bought something. They bought a new car, and everybody's rejoicing with it, rejoicing about it, that they are blessed. So I step into that. Oh, you have a new car. That's a blessing from God. Are you happy about it? Yes, I'm very happy about it. You are in that's like identification, isn't it? Yeah, and then on the other hand, somebody has a family problem, and there's a sadness there, and I understand that. So there's a empathy, is it? Sympathy, empathy, identification, sensitivity, and that there's a connection amongst people. So this is the nature of our life. Verse 16. Be of the same mind one toward another. Um, what mind would that be? Or toward one another? It's a mind of identification. It's a mind of like caring. It's a mind that you are. It's like a mind like you. It's you. Like how are you? You. It's about if we all have that mind where like I love you, like you. If we all have that mind, that's not the other one is it's about me, Who cares about me? Who understands, me? Who is, I'm sensitive to me. I'm like really caring about does anybody pay attention to me, So that's the way it can be. When you have a room full of that, it's about me, then you have a room full of people that are all like sitting by themselves and looking for the attention that they need for themselves, for me, you know. But be of the same mind, and this mind isn't about me, it's about him. It's about Jesus. It's about the spirit of Jesus, the love of Jesus. It's about you. How are you? It's about love. So it says it there in the verse. It says, be of the same mind one to another. Mind not high things, but condescend to men of low estate. So what a beautiful verse that is, isn't it? Like, I wonder what Paul is talking about there. Mind not high things. There's a proverb where it says, the fool's eye is on the ends of the world. It's in the Bible. The fool, his eye is on the end of the world. And I talked to my wife about that because I don't remember how it came up, but I go, there are people that are always talking about over there, like geographically, and then the second thing, down the road, time-wise. Like later, I will get what I really want, or living in Florida over there, or when I become, this, or when I get there, that the whole world will come together for me. But the wise man, his eye isn't on the end of the world, and like later or over there, it's better, but it's on the immediate. Right here is where I'm living right now with you. I'm with you right now. Like this is it. And God is present here. This is where we live. This is not a high thing. It seems like the high thing is later and over there, but the condescend to men of low estate is right here in the problem is the presence of God. Right here in the immediate where there's a need, right here at my elbow, there's a guy that needs to be loved. Not like way over there later in the year, or I hope it'll turn out to be great. It's like, okay, you can live like that, but there's another way to live, and that's right now. Like, this is the world I'm in right now, this one. So I think that's how I think of verse 16. Mind not high things, but things of low estate. Be not wise in your own conceits. How about this? It'll get better. Maybe it will. But right now is the present, and God is present, and this is enough. Like God is here. So we have conceit or my own pride, that always drives me, and maybe later, you know, um, later, and you know, when I get this or when I get that, or there's a series of Proverbs in 26, I believe. If you wanted to flip over there, Proverbs 26, I just point something out to you. You have verse 12. Seest thou a man wise in his own conceit? There's more hope of a fool than of him, that he lies to himself, and he doesn't leave it. It goes through a series. Verse 13 is another one. Verse 15 is another one. And 16 another one. Verse sluggard is wiser in his own conceit than 7 men that can render a reason. So there are people that you can't change them because they can't get out of their self-life. They are wise in their own conceit, and you can give them reasons, but they don't really believe you. They don't come to that point. They don't ever get there. So, yeah. Okay, so we'll finish it up here. Verse Romans 12:17. Recompense to no man evil for evil. Provide things honest in the sight of all men. If it be possible, as much as lies in you, live peaceably with all men. Dearly beloved, avenge not yourselves, but rather give place unto wrath. So the sensitivity that produces anger and rage, the sensitivity of retaliation, evil for evil, that's one way of living. The other one is give it up, let it go, drop it, forget about it. It doesn't matter. Forget about it. You're overly sensitive. Charles Spurgeon said, every preacher needs a good critic. And what he meant was, and he got a lot of criticism in the papers in London, and he just said, I need it, because it brings me before God, and maybe that's good for me. And remember Shimei cursing David, and Joab said, let me go over, I'll take off his head. And David said, no, let him go, let him curse. Maybe the curse will result in God blessing me. I'll take it. Let him curse me. Let him go, and then maybe God will look at it and bless me because of it. So, like when you and I are overly sensitive about how we are treated or how we are handled or what people say about us, we should be careful with that because it can lead us down a rabbit hole, and that's where we end up. We get in a small world, and we're not really changing and growing. But if you can get over yourself, like we get over ourselves and we just kind of take it and learn how to bless, then God will help us grow, and we'll rise, and our sensitivity may become good, that we are like understanding other people, that we understand they are hurting, they need to be loved, they are embarrassed, they are afraid, they are insecure, and they just need to be loved and encouraged. And by the way, let's finish with this. have you ever had like pain? You've had pain. You've been sick. How about a little wood splinter in your finger? And your whole body is affected by that splinter in your finger. Or you have a fever. What do you think about immediately when you get sick? You think about yourself. It's like, oh, I feel bad. I am sick. What is it you stop thinking about? You stop thinking about others. You don't think about others, you think about yourself. This is how we are. We're wired for this. This is how we live. This is what happens to us. Well, what we are saying today is that uh, there is a lot of living that is happening without compassion, without thinking of others, without understanding other people, without caring about other people, because we are sick. But when Jesus was here, he was not sick and he had compassion. It's the most common phrase about his emotions in the New Testament is that he was moved with compassion. He was moved with compassion. Conversely, when you are happy, when you are free, when you're not caring so much about yourself, but you're loving other people, that's when you start to have compassion on people in the Ukraine, people that are homeless in Baltimore, people that are high school kids, like children in school. You start to think about them, and you start to connect with other people. And that's a huge thing, to go from being like occupied with ourselves to having compassion for others. All right, so that's it. Amen. Have an awesome day today.